Member for Mandurah.
Deputy Speaker, I'm very proud to begin my inaugural address today by acknowledging the Noongar people whose land we're meeting on, and particularly those of the Binjarra people whose land my electorate sits on. Kaya Nunjurupan Nunninja, Nala Kudich, Noongar Mort, Kayan Karak Ninjapuja. My heart is happy that I'm here today, and I acknowledge that we're here on Noongar land. I acknowledge Aboriginal elders past and present, Madam Deputy Speaker, including my close friend and Binjarra elder Uncle George Wally, who is here today. It means a lot to me that he's here. I give my gratitude to George and First Nations people for their generous sharing of culture and of Catagen, of knowledge. And I commit myself as a member of this place to walking alongside our First Nations people of my electorate and of all First Nations people towards a future defined by hope, opportunity and reconciliation. I live and have grown up on the lands of the Binjarra people, the river people, Mr Speaker, of the Noongar Budja. The contemporary name of Mandurah derives from the Noongar word, I'm sorry, Madam Deputy Speaker, Manjugurra. Manju meaning meeting place, Gurra meaning meeting place of the heart. If you've travelled along the Forest Highway, you've seen this name before, as it's the name of the entry statement to my electorate. As an elder once said to me, it's a big name with a big meaning. The meeting place of the heart, Manjugurra, has for a millennia been a special meeting place where people have come from all parts of the Noongar nation for occasions of significant and special moments, to meet, to celebrate, to trade and share knowledge. And it was then and remains today a special meeting place. This past and the stories that accompany it, so graciously shared by Binjarra people, exist deep in the culture of the community that we call Mandurah today. Deputy Speaker, it's with a sense of deep humility that I stand in this place today as the fourth person to be elected to represent the seat of Mandurah, three of whom have represented the Labor Party. I acknowledge my friend, the Honourable David Templeman, who's here this evening, and who I will have plenty more to say about shortly. I also acknowledge another friend, Mr John Reid, who was the first member for Mandurah, a Labor member, who was elected in 1983, and Mr Roger Nichols, who served Mandurah for the period of 1989 to 2001. I'm proud and grateful to take up this office as member for Mandurah and for the trust vested in me by a community that I love and have called home since I was 9. I'm proud to stand here as a member of the WA Labor Party, deeply honoured to be serving as a member of the Cook Labor government. I will reflect on this more throughout my address. I'm also proud to stand here as one of the many members in this place who have previously served at the local government level. Madam Deputy Speaker, it's been an honour to serve my community in elected office 3 times prior to becoming a member of this place. Firstly, as a local government councillor in 2009, and then in 2017, at 29, I was elected as the Mayor of the City of Mandurah. I was gratefully re-elected to that role in 2021. I come to this place with a deep respect for local government, the people who put their hand up to serve at the local level closest to our community, and the officers who work often in challenging circumstances to deliver critical services and infrastructure. Most people in local government are good people who believe in services and civic contribution. We should not allow the poorly behaved few that rise to office from time to set their reputation for a sector so critical to the good governance of our communities. Madam Deputy Speaker, it seems to be customary in the inaugural address to begin with a little reflection on one's backstory. And so let me start at the beginning. I'm a born and bred West Australian, born at Bentley Hospital. I'm the son of a builder in Geraldton and a healthcare worker born at King Edward, the grandson of a butcher and a childcare worker, a disability support worker, and what I think today could be referred to as a fauna control officer. A roo shooter, Madam Deputy Speaker. Before we moved to Mandurah, my home was in my colleague, the member for Thornley's electorate, before relocating to the southern suburbs of Mandurah in 1997. My parents are here today. I'm very grateful to them both for their love and support throughout my life. In 1998, the year I entered the world, they were 19 and 20. I have on occasion reminded them of the living proof that sometimes the best things in life are those that are unplanned. As an adult, I reflect on the courage it must have taken for 2 people so young to raise a child and the sacrifices I know they both made to provide the opportunities to me that they have done throughout my life. Both my parents exemplify the principles of hard work, being authentic and generous. They have both in their own ways role modelled with these principles to me my entire life, and I'm very grateful to them for all that they have done. I am incredibly grateful to be the fortunate brother of my siblings, Aaron, Elizabeth and Annie. In 1994, having lived the rather indulgent life of an only child for the first 6 years, things changed forever upon the birth of my younger brother. I joke with him of resenting the restructuring of attention that came with his arrival, but the truth is I've been very grateful to share a bond as brothers with him ever since. Him and his wife Olivia, who is a sister to me now too, have delivered to our family great joy in my two nephews, Harry, who is here today, and little Arthur. Being an uncle to them is one of the most joyous roles of my life. Later in life, my brother and I were joined by our two sisters, Elizabeth and Annie. Though we are separated by a generation in age, and that's something that they cheekily point out often, I'm grateful that we share a close relationship. They couldn't be here this evening, but I'm proud of them for the young women that they are. I count myself very lucky to have such loving and supportive grandparents, all who have played a significant role in my life, along with my extended family of aunties and uncles and cousins. Much of my childhood was filled with family time, weekends at Nan and Pop's beach house down at Preston Beach, camping trips to Denmark on the Easter holidays, saving pocket money for the Royal Show. I'm acutely aware of how fortunate I have been to have the upbringing I have had with my working class family. I am directly from their examples the values of hard work, fairness and compassion for others. It is easy as adults to forget, I think, that it is these moments of childhood as much as any other that define our values and principles. Importantly, this serves as a reminder to me of our collective responsibility as communities and as members in this place, of being the village of those children and young people in our community who don't have the same privileges of a roof over their head and a support network as I have had growing up. For the love and support and encouragement and wisdom of my family, I'm most grateful. Deputy Speaker, I'm proud to stand here as one of the many members of this place who have been the beneficiary of a public education. I had great teachers who would go above and beyond and who understood the honour and the important role of their responsibilities in shaping the future generations. And one of those teachers is here today. I'm also married to a public school teacher, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I see the wholehearted investment of time, of energy, of care and emotion that goes into that job. It's unrelenting, and it's as complicated and complex as quantum physics. During my time in this place, I'll be an advocate for continuous improvement in our schools and a champion for our public education system. After school, I was supported by mentors to set up a not-for-profit organisation with the purpose of lifting aspiration and leadership opportunities for young West Australians. I led this organisation for a decade. Our teams worked with local governments, government agencies, community organisations, schools and the private sector in delivering projects aimed at building a more aspirant culture among WA's young people. It was meaningful work and it showed me the immense capacity of young people when you give them a voice and a problem to solve. Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to talk a little bit about the place now that I'm fortunate enough to call my home, and now the community that I'm proud to represent in this place. The story of Mandurah is one of constant change and transformation. What once was a fishing village and a tourist town is today a vibrant city home to a population of 100,000 people and host to hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. Mandurah has two defining characteristics that have shaped it over the passage of time. Characteristics that sit as the foundations of a community that has a rich past behind it and an exciting future ahead of it. Firstly, it's a community that is woven both geographically and culturally by its waterways. At its eastern border, the Pilharvey Estuary, or its ancient name, the Jilba, has provided lifestyle, prosperity and joy to the populations of this area for generations. The Indian Ocean to the west with great beaches for fishing, four-wheel driving, swimming and surfing, and throughout the region the Inaugural wetlands, the largest wetland system in the southwest of Australia, hosting hundreds of thousands of migratory birds each year and providing a home to local fauna. These waterways and wetlands collectively make up Ramsar Site 482, an internationally recognised system protected under the Ramsar Convention of 1971. In the late 19th and 20th century, Mandurah was known for being home to an enterprising fish canning industry. From the 1930s onwards, Mandurah's story was defined by beach shacks in the dunes of Silver Sands and Falcon, weekends and school holiday trips to local caravan parks for crabbing and fishing, Sunday sessions at the Peninsula Hotel, which I'm reliably told was the first pub in Western Australia to have beer on tap. And as this small town grew into a city with a vibrant population of locals and visitors, still today you'll hear the central choice for people calling this place home or to visit is the waterways and the local environment. I'm reminded daily of the beauty of those natural assets and the importance of those assets to our local lifestyle and economy. But I'm also reminded of the vulnerability that these assets face from the threat of climate change. From coastal erosion to the system-debilitating impacts of reduced rainfall on the Inaugural wetland systems, these examples of vulnerability, I know, are matched by examples in electorates represented by others in this place, and indeed parliaments across the world. These examples serve as critical reminders of our collective responsibility for continued enduring action on that front. I'm proud to be on the side of politics that seeks to take practical and collaborative approaches to addressing these challenges head-on. The second defining characteristic that Mandurah people often speak of with pride is a deep and enduring spirit of community. It's a city now to 100,000 people, but the sense of community vibrancy is more reflective of a small town or a village. It's a community that celebrates together, that supports each other during the tough times, and that stands together for the things that it believes in. From time to time, we may display a hint of parochialism, particularly by those who refer to us as part of metropolitan Perth. Don't get me wrong, we love our big neighbour to the north, but Mandurah people are clear about our non-metropolitan status. We're protective of our identity, which is wrapped up in our history and our culture. I want to acknowledge the many thousands of residents that are champions of this great spirit. We're fortunate to have an active culture of volunteerism, a vibrant small business community, and the residents who look out for each other, who are proud of their city, and who work to make it a great place to live every day. I think it's important to reflect that in Mandurah's biggest moments of the last few decades, it has been a WA Labor government that's catalysed change and investment in the transformative projects that have helped the community to grow. It was Labor Premier Peter Dowding that approved plans and Premier Carmen Lawrence that oversaw the construction of the Dawesville Channel, a monumental intervention, still recognised today as one of WA's largest ever engineered responses to an environmental crisis. The channel arrested the systemic decline of the Peel Harvey estuary and kicked off decades of growth and opportunity for the region. It was Alana McTiernan and David Templeman and a WA Labor government that built the Mandurah train line, opening a world of new opportunities to residents, including those who previously may have had to limit their life goals or aspirations, but who now can aspire to loftier heights. Madam Deputy Speaker, soon these same residents will be able to jump on that very same train and travel all the way to the electorate of Butler for less than a cost of a Mars bar. Today, if you find yourself in Mandurah, you'll see something remarkable. After decades of frustration and inaction and long-standing bottlenecks on our very strangely configured three-lane bridge, which reliably clogs up every single morning, it is finally being addressed. A major duplication project is now well underway, set to ease the daily grind for the thousands of people travelling from Mandurah suburbs each day. I call it the Lisa Monday Bridge, and it's being delivered by a WA Labor government. I reflect on this not for the indulgence of it, but to simply acknowledge the high expectations that the Mandurah electorate holds for its representatives and the very high benchmark set by those who have served the Mandurah community in this place. Accordingly, I commit myself to these same standards, being part of a WA Labor government that delivers for the community. And I understand that that delivery first and foremost starts with the delivery of the Peel Health Campus Foundation. I've heard loudly and clearly that this is the major priority for the community, and I'm proud that this is going to be a project delivered by this government. I'm sure that others will agree with me that one of the most humbling parts of the campaign season is conversations on the doors. Spurred on by the example set by Formidable Doorknocker, the member for Perth, I admit to at first being somewhat apprehensive about it all. Like other members, though, soon I found a groove and it became a highlight of the campaign journey. I thank the many hundreds of local residents who so willingly and graciously shared their stories. Stories of hard work, achievement, success, heartache, good luck, bad luck, vulnerability and generosity. I was reminded daily of the resilience of people, the good that exists in our communities, the strength and the generosity of just doing life. I was particularly struck, though, by how these stories differed so often dependent on geography. I would hear stories of opportunity and of aspiration and hope in some areas of the electorate, whilst in others, the consistent themes of hardship, complexity and despair. The unequal distribution of these stories was confronting. We live in both abundant and challenging times, and as our Premier reminded us today, West Australia is home to the strongest economy in the nation. And that's no accident. It's the result of careful planning, hard work, collaboration, and the commitment of generations of West Australians. Yet, let's be clear. In this era of abundance, we know that opportunity and prosperity has not reached every corner equally. The challenge of growing economic inequality is, of course, a global one, but it's not one that we've escaped here in WA. Today, in Western Australia, a person in the top 20% of the income scale lives in a household with almost 6 times the income of someone living in the bottom 20%. In my own electorate of Mandurah, often described as a tale of two cities, that patchwork of economy is some of the starkest in Western Australia. Economic stability varies dramatically across the electorate, and correlating with that are the same dramatic variances in living standards, in health outcomes, and educational attainment, just to name a few. It is not a matter of political ideology, Madam Deputy Speaker, but a statement of fact that greater economic equality makes stronger societies. We know that true freedom starts with economic opportunity. What freedom looks like is different for everyone, but almost always at the heart of it all, it begins with the ability to secure a job, to build a future, to shape a life of dignity and purpose. Of all the reasons that I'm excited and proud to stand here as a member of the Premier's Labor team, it is the vision for creating economic opportunity for all people, but particularly for those who are at risk of being left behind, that makes me the most proud. Firstly, on that point, I want to spend a moment reflecting on the government's fee-free TAFE program, an absolute game changer for enabling social mobility and economic freedom. I previously had the opportunity to serve as chair of the South Metro TAFE Governing Council, and I acknowledge both that TAFE and all of our TAFEs in the work that they're doing. I witnessed firsthand the positive impacts that this program is having on the lives of those that are signing up, and the sense of pride and responsibility and the sense of pride and self-belief that access to this training is instilling. Madam Deputy Speaker, may I have an extension?
Extension granted.
Giving people access to skills and training at no cost is a powerful way to create real opportunity, particularly for young people, those people who are transitioning or who have historically been excluded from economic mainstream. I'm confident that in the years ahead, these people will talk about the fee-free TAFE program as a defining moment in their life, and one in which they are able to build new opportunities from. And significantly, thanks to the Made in WA plan to make more things here and other economic reforms being put forward by the Cook Labor government, those same West Australians, Madam Deputy Speaker, will be able to benefit from that fee-free TAFE and then have greater access to meaningful jobs, secure jobs across the width and breadth of the supply chains, bringing with it all the benefits that this entails, both to the individual and our communities. I believe fostering a more equal society is about fairness, but it's also fundamental to our economic growth and social stability. More equal societies are healthier societies, they're happier societies, and they're safer societies. What could be more important than that? This is such an exciting time for Western Australia, but we must be vigilant. We must seek to ensure that these opportunities provide uplift for everybody, and I'm really proud to be part of a team that understands this challenge, that embraces it, and that seeks to make a real difference in the lives of people who otherwise might miss out. Madam Deputy Speaker, it is now appropriate for me to reflect on the services of my predecessor, the Honourable David Templeman. People in this place will know the Honourable former member, who know the Honourable former member, will sympathise with me that it is difficult to know where to begin. First, on the matter, may I confide in the House that I am relieved. I have known the Honourable member, he says, since I was 12. I'm not sure that it's been that long, but shall we say some time. We've worked closely in that time and shared many a good laugh. He's been a mentor, a role model, a confidant and a friend. So when I say I'm relieved, you are, I'm sure, wondering what I mean by that. It's a funny choice to describe a moment like this. Well, my sense of relief is based on the fact that at the end of his parliamentary career, it was of his own choosing, and not, as at times it felt was an inevitability in this era of political correctness, a case of being cancelled. I can't tell you the number of times that I would observe with amusement and sometimes trepidation, along with the member for Dawesville, the former member arriving to events dressed in outrageous costumes, singing outrageous songs with offensive lines that almost no one, save maybe the late Sir Les Patterson, would have gotten away with. I wondered to myself, does this guy's boss know what he does when he's back in his electorate? I recall one event, the 50th anniversary of the Mandurah Ladies Darts Association, where where the member was asked to sing a song to mark this most important milestone. It was a sight. I won't repeat the lines, Madam Deputy Speaker, because you would, I'm sure, say that it was most unparliamentary. Although I did get a video of it just in case I needed an insurance policy. But these lines were outrageous and offensive. And what did these ladies do? Were they offended? Did they complain against the behaviour? Did they shake their heads and complain on social media about the offensive Minister of the WA government? No, they didn't. They erupted into thunderous applause. They cheered and they whistled and they sang along to the song's outrageous chorus at the top of their lungs. It was 11 a.m. at the Hall's Head Bowling Club, and you couldn't be mistaken for thinking you were front row at a Beatles concert. And of course, despite the fact that the former member isn't actually aware of what TikTok is, let's not forget the time that the end-of-year song that he sung to this place reached viral status on the platform, viewed by thousands of people across the world, heralded as a hero. Can I take this opportunity to declare to the House that the era of annual parliamentary proceedings being wrapped up in song by the member for Mandurah is an era now firmly behind us. With all that being said, it would of course be an absolute injustice to allow this wonderful man's time in office to be defined by these more colourful moments. David Templeman has served his community and the state of Western Australia with distinction. Most of all, at a time where it's becoming all too common in politics across the world that to be successful, you have to be aggressive and divisive and nasty, playing the man and not the ball. David Templeman's greatest contribution may be the example that he set, that you can be successful into politics by always choosing the road of kindness, of compassion, of seeking to understand before seeking to be understood, to build bridges and empathise and compromise and care. This legacy is in itself worth our gratitude. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'll now take the opportunity to give my thanks to those who I give most credit for the fact that I'm standing in this place. Firstly, thanks to my campaign director, the Honourable David Templeman, and to Claudia Bakich, Larissa, Shelley, Dan Wilkins, Matthew Rogers, and the many volunteers that worked tirelessly in the months leading up to the election. A special thank you to Claudia, who really went above and beyond. I'm also very grateful, and a big thank you to my mate, the member for Dawesville, who was on the other end of the phone at least once a day, offering not much of a mate, offering her support and a listening ear so freely. I also acknowledge WA Labor State Secretary Ellie Whittaker and her WA Labor team for an outstanding campaign, and the Honourable Fred Riebling and the Honourable John Cowdell, Speaker of this place and President of the other place, for their mentorship and support. To Steve Darcy and the AMWU, thank you for your relentless work in shaping a fairer society. I'm proud to be associated with your movement. I thanked my parents and my family earlier, but I thank my in-laws also, who are here this evening, and I thank them for their support and their love. I also thank others who have so willingly supported me as mentors and coaches. To the former Mayor of Mandurah, Paddy Creevy, OAM, who's been a constant source of wisdom and guidance over more than a decade. My friend Peter Kenyon, who's taught me about community and leadership. I consider myself very fortunate to be able to call on the mentorship and wisdom of a couple of WA Labor giants. One of them, David Templeman, I've already thanked. The other, the Honourable Alana McTiernan, is here this evening. Thank you for always being a phone call away, for your enduring belief over many years, for your support and advice. I want to thank the Premier of Western Australia, Roger Cook, for the opportunity to serve as a member of his team. I'm very grateful to serve alongside such a values-driven leader. And to the members of the Cabinet and my caucus colleagues for so willingly helping me to learn the ropes. Finally, I want to thank and acknowledge my wife, Skipper. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm very fortunate to be married to my best friend. We met a decade ago in a job interview. She got the job. She'd say for a measly $20 an hour. We live in Mandurah in our home, spending any free time we've got enjoying the Mandurah lifestyle, being on the beach, at the beaches and on the waterways. Skipper's an educator, teaching year 4-5 students at Falcon Primary School, incidentally the primary school that we both went to. I'm lucky to have her in my life. She's my teammate, my best friend, my partner in crime, She keeps me humble, and while I don't think thank you is quite enough, I'm deeply grateful. Madam Deputy Speaker, as is well understood by members of this place, we live in a time of great opportunity, but also of great complexity. Many West Australians are doing really well, but also some are doing it really tough. This is the nature of societies. It doesn't escape me that the good work of government in shaping a brighter future for all people is work that is never complete. It's unfinished business, and it always will be. But to be in this place and to have an opportunity to contribute to this lofty goal, well, Madam Deputy Speaker, that is humbling. Finally, to the constituents of the Mandurah electorate, I do not take this responsibility lightly. I will endeavour to do all I can to honour the trust that you've placed in me every single day until my last day serving in this place. Thank you.
Leader of the House. Sensational. The question is the motion be agreed to. All those in favour say aye. All those to the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Leader of the House. The question is the motion be agreed to. All those in favour say aye. All those to the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Well, good. You go.